Lindsay Hoffman, and welcome to the Dose of Bliss show, where I share with you tips and motivation to live your best life. Today, we have a lifestyle expert, and she's the author of The Clutter Remedy, a guide to getting organized for those who love their stuff. Marla Stone, welcome.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for having me.
Hi, well, thank you. I'm so glad we met. As my show, I say this every video, I'm all about manifestation, and I literally got into organizing my house in all the drawers, and then I got introduced to you, and now you're here. And so it just shows that you manifest, like, literally the day before. I was like, I wish I knew an organizing expert, and here we are.
Yes, it's exactly correct. You know, I actually manifested being a professional organizer from being a former psychotherapist, social worker of 17 years, 10 years in private practice. And then I was like, who am I going to be when I grow up? And I just kept searching, and I turned it over and then became a professional organizer. And then I manifested the book, The Clutter Remedy, Guide to Getting Organized for Those Who Love Their Stuff. And here I am with you.
I love that story because you went from, working in social work to writing a book and organizing. It shows that you can be whoever you want to be, and really how our spaces affects how we feel. But before we get into that, I wanted to know how did you manifest getting there?
Well, when I was a psychotherapist, starting around 2008, when the economy really started to get shaky, I had a lot of people coming in and saying that their life was over and they didn't know how they were going to live. They thought they were going to live in a station wagon. And then I helped all these people reinvent their lives. And I also had a contract with Camp Pendleton for all those folks. And a lot of them weren't cut out for the military. They really wanted to do something else. So I helped them. And then I thought, who am I going to be when I grow up? And so I just started really searching. And, you can manifest all you want. You can, think about things all you want, but unless there's some action, you're not going to get very far with just dreams and goals. So I looked at law for a career, and then I thought, oh my gosh, that's more intense than being a therapist. It's very, there's a lot of depressing facts there. And then interior design, but at the time, a lot of interior designers weren't working. Around 2010, 9, 10, when I started to make the transition. And then I signed up for a feng shui newsletter online, and this newsletter came, and it said professional organizer. And I had never heard that term. I was like, what is that? And then I looked into it, and it was a 40-plus-year-old career that was mostly people with mental health backgrounds or people that came from corporate backgrounds. And I was like, I could do Tupperware, not knowing the extent that mental health had to do with getting people organized, whether they have severe organizational challenges or even minor. You're still dealing with people. And it was really like old-fashioned social work. So I was able to use my background, which was one of the things that I kept saying is I want to be able to use my background. Who wants to give up all that schooling? Master's degree in social work, bachelor's in psychology. And so it really just, and obviously I prayed.
Yeah.
I was like I was at the 8-month period of not working after closing the private practice. And finally I was like, I just dropped to my knees, and it just was like a spontaneous moment. And I think, the angels and the heavens heard my cry. And I do believe you have to ask. I believe that at some point, if things aren't happening, when you laid it all down and you're like, this is what I want to do. And of course, you want your capabilities to match what you want to do. I wasn't going to ask to be an Olympic athlete.
Yes.
But you want to ask the universe for these gifts that are going to be bestowed upon you. And they are like, gems of sparkly things that are going to start to come at you. And it happened for me. And I have been at this now for almost 10 years. In March, my business, Ideal Lifestyle, will be 10 years old. And I've helped over 4,000 beings get organized, and over 2,000 properties in these years. So it's just been a mad rush of helping people.
That's so amazing. Just being bold enough to leave a career with so much schooling and then saying, I want my next career to involve what I know then. And who would really know how much organization has to do with the psychology of a person and how you feel? Can you explain that? 'Cause I'm so excited for my followers to really hear how important and what it signifies.
Yes. Well, it was funny because I also, at the time, I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't on social media when I was still a therapist. I didn't even text. I was like, my thumbs are too big. And going into this new business, talk about manifestation, but I was online looking at everything to do with professional organizing, and this little button popped up for building your own website.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, of course I'm going to want a website also. So I built a website, which at 49 years old, I was building my first website. And then I finished it, I published it, and literally a month later, the phone rang, and it was my first client. And so I went to her house, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I'd read a lot of different books, and some of them sounded helpful and some sounded crazy about organizing. And so when I got there, this was a woman that was going through a serious divorce, and the house was a mess. And once we got her closet cleared out, she started to cry. And I was like, uh-oh, I thought I was going to be an organizer, but this looks more like social work. But I quickly said, do you have health insurance? And we got her a therapy appointment.
Aww, that's nice.
But, I realized that if I don't do the coaching with the person while I'm helping them with the physical process of decluttering, then I'm not doing a full job as an organizer, a true professional organizer, not just people that are calling themselves professional organizers, but a true professional organizer helps the whole being so that the person will remain organized long-term, not just quick fix, not let's just make it neat, pretty, and all this stuff. Oh, let's get some boxes. It's much more of a deep, layered process to have somebody stay organized and then go and manifest their dreams and their goals that have been blocked by a cluttered home and a cluttered emotional system.
So what caused someone like that to cry? Because we do have emotional attachments to our things that we're getting rid of. But what do you find are the top things of why someone can't get rid of something and why they're staying cluttered?
Well, the clutter in that particular case, and many cases where there's a lot of clutter and just drawers that are just always messy and just a constant looking for things, it is an avoidance of looking at the inner emotional process. That's what I believe. Mm-hmm. And I talk about it in the book. The more cluttered a home, the more you're going to focus on that. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be saying things like, well, I need to get organized, or I have to get organized. And that's a lie to the subconscious process. Needs are air, food, water, shelter, sleep, elimination, and sunlight, the 7 things that keep us alive. And everything else is you will do things in your life or you won't. And you want certain things in your life or you don't want them. So I developed a criteria to help people with these blocks, and to help them also go into the inner emotional process and heal those things. So the criteria for what you keep in your life is, will you use it? Does it serve a purpose? Is it sentimental? And do you love it? And if you can answer, if I pick up, the clutter remedy, you don't need this, mm-hmm. It does serve a purpose though. It will help you learn something. And you may love it, once you read it, or you may not. And it could become sentimental. It could be something that touched you and become sentimental, or it won't be sentimental. So you ask yourself with each object that you have those 4 questions. But also, in order to remain organized, if you still have dark trauma or anything that wounded you inside, then that part of you can jump in and throw you in the back seat and take over and sabotage everything that was done. in the home. Everything, even if you categorize everything and find a home for everything and you fine tune everything, when there's emotional clutter, that can play out, and it will take your organizational system away, or you will not put things back where they belong, and it will get sabotaged.
Do you have an example of like why you would sabotage it? What's going on?
Well, let's say you had a trauma at 12 years old, or 5, or 20, or a year ago, like loss of a loved one. If that part does not heal, there's a darkness there. So if the place is organized, then it doesn't match the inner processes of your darkness. So you will turn that environment into a dark environment, and vice versa. If you're very happy and the place is cluttered, it doesn't match. So if you've already achieved a clarity in your life and a healing in your life, and then you look around and you say, oh, this does not match my inner self, then that's when people generally want to get decluttered and have things better in their life, in their environment.
Yeah, and we do feel it after you have your house nice and clean and organized. You do take a deep breath and you're like, I feel great right now.
Exactly. But the problem I saw in this industry, and with a lot of the methods and strategies that were employed in a lot of the different books, is when you don't address the inner process, and you can make it as neat as possible. Again, people get decluttered, and then they get cluttered again, and then they get decluttered, and then they go back to clutter again. And that's what I wanted to stop. Mm-hmm. And so this book addresses all of yourself and your space.
Mm-hmm. So what's like one tip that you can reveal that you can unclutter within yourself to maintain, balance and organization within you, but also in your home?
So when you start with the inner process, the inner self, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what do you value in life? And when I would ask that question, what do you value in life, to my customers, they would look at me like, huh? And it is something that a lot of people have forgotten, because we put one foot in front of the other, take care of the kids, go to the grocery store, do the laundry, clean the house, go everywhere, and not really remember what the dreams were in your life. And, and sometimes I'll say, well, what were your dreams when you were younger? And even then it's that stumped, like, I haven't thought about that for years. So, when somebody used to value, let's say, hanging out with friends and going to concerts and shopping and, all these different things, that's okay. But I ask, what do you value today? What are your true values? So that may be relaxation, reading a book, spending time with family and friends, taking long walks. Our values change throughout our life. What you liked at 20 is highly unlikely what you like at 30 or 40 or older. And so getting to what you value today is the most important thing, because if you value, let's say, golf and relaxation and reading and, hanging out with friends, and you have things in your home like knitting, crafts, sports equipment that you no longer are engaging, the sports you're not engaging in anymore. And so you'll have things in your home that don't match your today life. So that's the first thing I help. So a lot of people, I've worked with many empty nesters, for instance, and just, college students to empty nesters, let's say. And they will have things that they used 10 years ago that are filling a closet. Like everything from what they did 10 years ago is filling their inner space. And I'll be saying, what is this doing in your real estate? And then they'll scratch their head and say, well, I thought I would do this again. That's usually the answer. I'm thinking about doing it again. And I'll say, really? Does it match what you value today? Is there room for this activity today? And the answer generally is no. Mm-hmm. They don't want to knit anymore, and they are not going to ice skate or ski anymore, or They are not doing, they're not into a particular, like doll collecting, or, something that's just stuffing up their space and it doesn't belong there any longer.
That's so interesting to think too, just that your surroundings, I mean, I even see the similarities of asking whether to keep something. When you're asking whether to keep something, you have 4 questions about like, what do you value? Is there sentimental? And it's like, you also have to ask those questions to yourself while you're organizing, because when I organize things, I do not want to get rid of some of the things in my house. And I have reasons of when I was little. My family gave a dog away when I was little, and I realized I can never get it back. And so now I don't like to get rid of things. And so it's weird, exactly what you say. It really manifests into your surroundings and how many things are we holding onto through objects in our house, that if we let go, we can also let go of that.
Exactly. And how old were you when that happened with the dog?
I was 2.
2. Okay. So there's the other technique that I use besides, what do you truly value and the criteria. Will you use it? Does it serve a purpose? Do you love it? Is it sentimental? Is to be able to visualize your 2-year-old self and put her in a chair and then really see her, and then introduce yourself, your current self, to your 2-year-old self, and then ask the 2-year-old what she thinks about that, and she'll answer, and then listen to her and be able to help her heal through that. So we can actually heal our younger selves. It's a fairly metaphysical type of exercise, but we can heal all parts of our younger selves and, get them clear, and then ask them not to help, because if a 2-year-old jumps in Lindsay's today body, throws her in the back seat, and then the 2-year-old's really the one making decisions, a 2-year-old operating system, we're in trouble. Exactly. That's when everything will be kept. But once the 2-year-old knows that they're not responsible for adult activities and your world today, taking care of your family, taking care of your space, then it's a much simpler process and there's a lot more clarity. And then you will make good decisions about what to keep. And I have reversed the entire organizing project, the entire decluttering project, to be about what you're going to keep. We do not focus on what you're going to get rid of. That is, I don't even like the word rid. It's just a bad word. And so when you pick up something, if I pick this up, it's part of a candle that I have, I'll ask myself, will I use this? And to be honest, I don't like candles. I don't know why. Just rarely. And especially in this thing. So no, it doesn't meet criteria for will I use it? Does it serve a purpose? Well, it would if we had a lightage outage, outage. Okay. Is it sentimental? Absolutely not. It's just a decor item. But do I love it? Yes, I love it. So that's why it's on my, breakfast table. And it's like a 3-part little candle thing. So when you go through your items very quickly with that criteria, you will be so surprised at how many good decisions you will make. And the other thing about keeping decluttered in your inner space is to remember, and especially if you're space challenged, to remember that things that are used daily, weekly, or monthly belong in your inner space. For instance, your kitchen cabinets, your bathroom cabinets, your closets in your bedroom, the hallway closet. You don't want things, in the winter, let's say. You don't want things that you use in the summer, like all the stuff you bring to the beach and all that, cluttering up your inner space. So in the book, there's a chapter on seasonal organizing, which means you start to move things around as the seasons change so that you have what you currently use in your space daily, weekly, or monthly. Things that you use less often, like once or twice a year, those things start to go to the garage or, a basement or somewhere where you can store things out of your daily, weekly, monthly space.
That's a really good tip to know. I was going to ask, what are your biggest tips? But we only have a few minutes left. So before we can get into where people can find you, knowing everything you know now about your life, organization, what is your advice to your younger self?
Well, I think I've talked to most of my younger self. It's really the most important thing you can tell your younger self, and this is all in the book, and it is the most important part of the technique, the strategy, is to tell your younger self it wasn't their fault and it shouldn't have happened. It was wrong, and it's not happening anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you update them. And then you say to them, I would tell my younger self, go play, have fun. You get to be your age and just go have fun without any of the worries of what was happening,
Mm-hmm.
in the past. And then just let them know that they're not responsible to help your today's self. Children are never responsible for adults.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very important tip that I can give everyone.
That's a really profound way to look at it.
Yes, exactly. And it's a great technique, and I came up with it to help cure PTSD during my time as a therapist with the employees of Camp Pendleton.
Wow, that is so amazing. And I mean, honestly, it speaks to me, and I'm sure everybody watching, and who knew that you could go that deep organizing and take it as an opportunity to find out about yourself. There's all these exercises to be a better you. You know, if you can't, there's a step process, and you can move physical objects and think about those objects and correlate it to yourself and then feel better. It's so amazing. And I really appreciate you coming here today and sharing this. I feel so lucky. I know everyone who finds this, it's going to be like a major breakthrough, and they have to connect with you. So where can people find you, and where can they find your book?
Okay, so you can find me at I-deal-lifestyle. I'm also on Twitter. I'm under ideal_organizer or ideal organizer. Instagram, ideal organizer. Marla Stone is my name. And I'm on Facebook as well. So I'm on all the social media. And again, the website is I-deal-lifestyle.com. And the book is everywhere. It's even in the library system. My publisher, New World Library, who publishes, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Dan Millman, they're a publisher that says that they publish books that change people's lives. So you can find it on the shelves of Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Target, online, everywhere.
Perfect. And you guys, I'm going to link everything below so you can find her book and you can find her. And look, the law of attraction. You might have just thought she was a lifestyle organizer with a book, but the companies she worked with are the same companies that work with Deepak Chopra. And that just goes to show the intention that is behind the people I bring on the show, to really show you that that's the magic to being happy. That's the magic behind everything you do. And I'm so thankful to have you here today, Marla. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you, Lindsay. Bye.